Hi witches! So today we are going to talk about the different types of witches you might come in contact with within the community. So this is a non-exhaustive list. I kind of came up with the ones that I have come in contact with like the most. So if you're a different kind of witch, that's super valid. Like everyone's valid in this community. But here's just some of the ones that I have run into the most, and we're gonna like talk through them. If any of these like really like call to you, I definitely recommend researching further, and you know, this might be something like a good correspondence chart to write down in your book of shadows. So yeah. Okay, so the first type of witch is the traditional witch. So generally speaking, and I say that a lot right now, but generally speaking, these witches come from a long line of like folk healers. So this traditional witch and hereditary witch can kind of be used interchangeably in my mind. They have traditions that may predate the advent of Wicca. So that is kind of a good way to tell if you're a traditional witch. And they probably have inherited practices from their family. So if it goes back like to the, like, you know, grandma was like a folk healer, generally speaking, you're a traditional or hereditary witch, right? So the next is a Wiccan witch, which is a witch who practices Wicca, which we talked about yesterday. Not all witches are Wiccan, but all or most Wiccans are witches. So the next one is a ceremonial witch, and I used to get this confused with a traditional witch like a lot, but the best way to explain it is that ceremonial witches practice like more of an Abrahamic flavor of magic, I guess. So generally they follow like Thelema, which is a religion started by Aleister Crowley. Not necessarily only Thelema, but, or if I'm saying that wrong, if it's like Thelema or something like that, please let me know. Because I've only read it, I've never heard anybody say it. So, you generally have to be initiated, and they have some private rituals, so you do have to kind of really read into that kind of stuff. So you can't just be like, I'm a ceremonial witch, boo, and, you know, summon a demon or whatever. So if that's something that you're interested in, I think it's really cool. I think that some of the imagery that I most like, that most calls, like when I hear ceremonial magic, I immediately think of like Baphomet and Baphometic magic, which is like very interesting to me, and I love that figure, but that's like a whole other thing, right? So I will probably do a video on that at a later date, but because it is really cool. I just have to read a little bit more about it because it's not something that I have studied in depth. So yeah. A green witch is a witch who primarily works with herbal remedies and plant magic and earth magic. So they generally have like a really big garden, and they're like, you know, aficionados of essential oils and are just really good with like plants. I am very bad at plants, very bad at growing plants. I literally kill anything I touch, so oh well. So the next one is a kitchen witch. So these are very similar to green witches, but they generally specialize in magic that centers around food. So baking, cooking, stuff like that. A hearth witch, also very similar to a kitchen witch and a green witch, but they really focus on their home and a lot of magic around their home. So instead of just having like one sacred space, their entire household is like a stronghold of magic. I really consider myself a hearth witch. I try to bring little elements of magic into pretty much every room in my apartment, which is not saying a whole lot because it's a small apartment, but I want to keep it, you know, protected, and I really work on like cleansing and making sure I have a really good home space, right? So hearth witch. A lunar witch is a witch that really works with the phases of the moon. So they really are influenced by the energy of the moon and stuff like that. You can also be a solar witch on the opposite side if you draw your power from the sun. You can be a cosmic witch. So that's a witch. I find that cosmic witches are also very into astrology, but they kind of use planetary and universal energy in their craft, which is like very overwhelming to me personally, but like really, really cool. So like that's awesome. You can be like earth witch or a water witch or an air witch, like an elemental witch, basically. Really drawn to any of the elements or like their derivatives. So like if you are a swamp witch, like if you're really drawn to the element of water, you could be a swamp witch or a river witch or an ocean witch. Or if you're really, I don't know, invested in the earth, you could be a desert witch, or like if you live in the desert, a mountain witch. Like depending on where you are, it really can affect your craft, right? So that's kind of like the it's a witch that works with their favorite element. So that's kind of really dependent on the witch, right? And then you can kind of have and I'm gonna call this the insert religion here witch. So that's a witch that worships gods and goddesses of a specific religion. So like I said before, you can be like a satanic witch or a Christian witch and really work with that kind of those deities, right? So there are, or you can also be an atheistic witch. Like you don't have to believe in any deity or universal power or whatever and just manipulate the energy around you. So there are tons and tons and tons of different types of witches. I can do a part 2 to this if you would like. Like I'm super open to that because there's like tons of witches that I can talk about, and every single like category I'm like, ooh, I want to do that. Ooh, I want to do that. Ah, that's so cool. I want to learn more about that. Because I just love witchcraft. So I kind of just want to know, like, what kind of witch are you, and what would you like to be? Like, what interests you? Like, and that could be anything. Like you could be like, hey, I'm really interested in like the earth and plants, and I really like, you know, I don't know, like incense and essential oils, and you can like kind of mash it all together into being like a hearth earth witch or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you can do, or a green earth witch, that's really what I meant. You can kind of like gestalt yourself a little description. So I would love to learn a little bit more about you guys, and maybe leave it in the comments below. And I really recommend like writing down like what we talked about. You don't have to, of course, but you can write it out in your book of shadows. Maybe include some imagery that like makes you think about the type of witch you like want to be, and like go from there. But yeah, if you want me to do a part 2 to this, because I know this was general, like very overarching and very general, I could totally go into a little bit more detail. I just don't want to overload everybody because I know I talk a lot. So anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow, and we're going to talk about the elements, so I'm really excited about that.